I, Angel Gabriella, humble storyteller from the whispering sands of Eldoria, bring you a tale spun from moonlight and truth. Gather close, for this is not a story for children, but for those whose hearts have weathered storms and whose souls seek solace. This is the tale of Ilara, the weaver of woe, and the gilded cage of her own making. This is the story of the value of honesty. In the sun-drenched kingdom of Etheria, nestled between the Azure Sea and the Emerald Peaks, lived Ilara. She was renowned for her weaving. Tapestries of breathtaking beauty flowed from her nimble fingers. Each thread, dyed in hues stolen from sunsets and dawn skies, told stories of valiant knights, mischievous sprites, and hidden waterfalls. Kings and queens from distant lands clamored for her creations, adorning their palaces with Ilara's artistry. Yet, beneath the veneer of success, Ilara was a prisoner. She wasn't imprisoned by bars or chains, but by a web of her own making. It began with a small thread of deception, a harmless exaggeration in her youth. She'd claimed to have seen a griffin soaring above the Emerald Peaks, a creature only whispered about in legends. The attention, the awe, the wonder in people's eyes, it was intoxicating. This small thread grew into a tangled skein. To maintain the illusion of the griffin's sighting, she wove its image into a tapestry, a masterpiece that further cemented her reputation as a seer. A visionary gifted with glimpses of the extraordinary. More commissions poured in, each demanding even more fantastical and unbelievable subjects. Ilara, trapped by her own lie, obliged. Her tapestries became increasingly elaborate, filled with mythical beasts, impossible landscapes, and prophecies of grandeur. She researched ancient lore, consulted with traveling bards, and spent sleepless nights weaving elaborate narratives to justify her creations. The truth, the simple beauty of the real world, became a distant memory. Ilara amassed wealth and fame beyond her wildest dreams. She lived in a sprawling villa overlooking the Azure Sea, surrounded by servants and admirers. She wore gowns of shimmering silk, adorned with jewels that sparkled like captured stars. But within the gilded cage of her success, Ilara felt a gnawing emptiness. She yearned for simplicity, for the honest appreciation of her skill, not the fabrication of her imagination. She longed to weave a tapestry of the sunrise over the Azure Sea, just as it was, without adding dragons or celestial choirs. But the fear of exposure, of losing everything she had built on a foundation of lies, paralyzed her. One day, a wise, an enigmatic merchant named Silas arrived in Etheria. He was rumored to possess a gem that could reveal the deepest truths of the heart. He sought out Ilara, not for her tapestries, but for her wisdom. He had heard of her visions and believed she could guide him on a difficult journey. Ilara, caught off guard, stammered and prevaricated. She tried to weave another tale to impress Silas with her supposed insights. But Silas, with eyes that twinkled like distant stars, saw through her charade. Ilara, he said gently, your tapestries are magnificent, but they are built on a foundation of sand. True beauty lies not in the fantastical, but in the honest reflection of the real. His words struck Ilara like a thunderbolt. He knew, but instead of condemnation, she saw only compassion in his eyes. Tears welled up in her eyes, tears she hadn't allowed herself to shed in years. I started with a small lie, she confessed, her voice barely a whisper, and it grew and grew until it consumed me. I am trapped, Silas. I am trapped by my own dishonesty. Silas nodded understandingly. The truth is a powerful force, Ilara. It can be painful, but it is also liberating. The first step is to acknowledge it, to yourself and to the world. He then presented her with a small, unassuming stone, no bigger than a pebble. This is the stone of clarity, he said. It will not reveal hidden secrets, but it will give you the courage to speak your truth. Hold it in your hand, Alara, and let your heart guide your words. That night, Alara tossed and turned, wrestling with her conscience. Should she confess, risk everything she had gained? The fear was overwhelming, but the thought of continuing to live a lie was even more unbearable. The next morning, she summoned the royal court, the very people who had showered her with praise and commissions. She stood before them, her hands trembling as she clutched the stone of clarity. "My lords and ladies," she began, her voice shaking, "I have summoned you here today to confess a grievous sin. My tapestries, magnificent as they may seem, are not born of true vision. They are born of lies." A gasp rippled through the court. The king himself leaned forward, his brow furrowed in disbelief. Alara continued, her voice gaining strength with each word. She recounted the griffin sighting, the initial lie that had snowballed into a cascade of fabrications. She spoke of her fear, her loneliness, and her yearning for truth. "I am not a seer," she declared. "I am a weaver, nothing more, and I can no longer live a lie. I offer you my sincerest apologies for deceiving you all." Silence descended upon the court, thick and heavy. Alara braced herself for the backlash, the accusations, the condemnation. But then, slowly, something unexpected happened. A young girl, the king's daughter, stepped forward. "But your tapestries are still beautiful," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. "Even if they are not real, they are still filled with magic and wonder. You are still a great artist, Alara." Others echoed her sentiments. They admitted that they had always suspected the tapestries were embellished, but they had been so captivated by their beauty that they had chosen to believe the stories. The king, a wise and just ruler, rose from his throne. "Alara," he said, "your honesty is commendable. While we may be disappointed that your visions were not real, we cannot deny your extraordinary talent. We forgive you." A collective sigh of relief swept through the court. Alara, overwhelmed by the unexpected forgiveness, burst into tears. They were tears of relief, of joy, and of liberation. Alara continued to weave, but now her tapestries were different. She wove scenes of the real world, the beauty of the azure sea, the majesty of the emerald peaks, the simple joys of everyday life. Her tapestries became even more popular, revered not for their fantastical elements, but for their honest portrayal of the world around them. She used her wealth to establish a school for young weavers, teaching them not only the technical skills but also the importance of honesty and integrity in their art. She encouraged them to find beauty in the ordinary, to express their own truths, and to never compromise their values for fame or fortune. Silas, the wise merchant, remained a close friend and confidant. He often visited Alara, sharing stories of his travels and reminding her of the value of her transformation. "The stone of clarity did not change you, Alara," he said one day, as they sat overlooking the azure sea. "It simply gave you the courage to be yourself. The truth was always within you, waiting to be released." And so, Alara, the weaver of woe, became Alara, the weaver of truth. She lived a long and fulfilling life, surrounded by love, respect, and the unwavering appreciation of her art. She learned that true beauty lies not in the illusion of perfection, but in the honest expression of the soul. She understood that the gilded cage of deception is a prison of one's own making, and that the key to freedom is the courage to embrace the truth. This, my friends, is the tale of Ilara, the weaver of truth. A tale for those who have stumbled, who have been tempted by the allure of deception, who have felt trapped by their own choices. Remember Ilara's journey. Remember the value of honesty, for it is in the honest reflection of ourselves, in the truthful expression of our hearts, that we find true freedom, true peace, and true beauty. And that is a weaving more precious than any tapestry ever made.